Okay, everyone. So today we're talking about the minimum revenue product, £100 revenue or more, and a memorandum of understandings. And I just really wanted to start with the deliverables because this is a really important point and topic for you to get your head around today. Okay, so deliverable minimum revenue product. So this is an offer or invitation to pay you money that you've created. Okay, so you can show us the website screenshot or buy this thing here in a number of different places. Then it's more than £100 revenue. So ideally you'll be tracking this in your goal tracker, but we also need to you can also provide us with a screenshot of your bank account to prove the evidence, and then a memorandum of understanding. So this can be a copy of a signed memorandum, PDF or a screenshot or something or other. Now, I just want to make you aware of this cliff. Okay, so this rocket represents your business. Okay, so your startup, and the red line is the end of your startup visa. Now, if you want to carry on with your business here in the UK, you need to prove sustainability. You need to reach this orbit, as it were, where you don't crash back. You know, gravity doesn't drag you back downwards and you crash and burn. Also, sustainability is the escape velocity or escape orbit, where you can get your innovator visa. Now, if you've not been able to prove that your business is sustainable by the end of your startup visa, then you'll have to go home. Okay, so what I'm talking about today is really important for you to understand that the clock is ticking. You need to reach sustainability, which means that you need to be generating revenue. And the revenue that you're generating, you need to be in profit, essentially, okay? Or you've been able to arrange grant funding or some other way of funding your business. And if you haven't achieved sustainability, then obviously that's going to be a disaster. So the pressure is on, okay, for you guys to achieve this. Now, of course, that you do need to. I don't actually assess whether your business meets the sustainability criteria or not. It's my co-founder Dan Drummond, who's a trained accountant, and his day job is assessing businesses' sustainability. Okay, so you don't need to please me. You need to convince him that your business is sustainable. Otherwise, the story is over. Okay, so having said that, I just really want to move on to stating that these tasks, the minimum revenue product, £100 revenue or more, and memorandums of understanding are bonus items in phase 2. Okay, so this means that you can concentrate your energy on creating a minimum revenue product, and you don't have to do the orange things in this table here, which is good news if you're a solo founder. If it's just you and your business, you don't have to do the equity split rationale. You don't have to do your vesting and cap tables. You don't have to do the issuance of stock certificates. So you can swap out the minimum revenue product and £100 revenue for those, or you could do software for accounting, grant opportunities, grant writing workshop, grant applications. These orange things can be swapped with the minimum revenue product, the purple things at the bottom here. Now, of course, these tasks are important and useful for you as an entrepreneur and your business success. So I wouldn't necessarily counsel you not to do these things. Obviously, you can do them later in phase 3 if you're a really hard worker and you're ahead of the curve. But if you've got lots of stuff that's haunting you that you should have completed by now, then I would suggest you try to get everything done as quickly as possible. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. These 3 things in purple can be replaced for the things in orange. Okay, but I wouldn't necessarily, you're going to have to do them at some point. If you can get grant funding for your business, then that's going to increase the chance that your business is sustainable. And increase the chance of you getting your innovator visa. Okay, so let me just define what a minimum revenue product is. Now, don't want to confuse you, but I'm going to start off with the definition of a minimum viable product. Okay, so minimum MVP is different from MRP. So an MVP is a version of a product with just enough features to be usable by early customers who can then provide feedback for future product development. Focus on releasing an MVP, minimum viable product, means that developers potentially avoid lengthy and unnecessary work. Now, if you've read the Lean Startup like we asked you to, you'll understand that Eric Ries wasted 6 months of his life writing code that was completely useless. And he thought, man, I could have been on the beach 6 months of doing something a lot more enjoyable than writing code. Maybe some of you like to write code rather than doing it on the beach. But the point is that he was thinking in terms of waterfall development. And this is a very, very old school type of thinking. You just have this plan, you execute the plan, it just crashes down like a waterfall. Whereas the Lean Startup approach, the build, measure, learn, means that you're iterating or you're doing things in a very small capacity, very small way. And this enables you to get feedback without you having to spend £8,000 in recording video. Okay. Now, a minimum revenue product is similar to that. And of course, Ash Moria talks about the MVP in his playbooks and his book, Running Lean, Scaling Lean. Everybody talks about minimum viable products, but nobody talks about a minimum revenue product. Okay, so here we go. The key word here is revenue. So a minimum revenue product is the smallest version of a product that meets enough early customers' needs to motivate them to pay you money for it. A focus on selling a minimum revenue product means that entrepreneurs prove customer demand, increase the company valuation, and speed up the raising of investment. Now, the thing that this also, the reason that this speeds up getting investment is that the investor sees you as an investable entrepreneur. Now, you've heard me say before in the past that out of 100 entrepreneurs who try to raise investment, the statistics tell us that only 1% is successful. And this is because most entrepreneurs who are trying to raise investment are uninvestable. Very often I go to an angel syndicate here in Scotland, and there's these companies who are pitching their startup, but they're just boffins. Yeah, they're just scientists who've got some technology in search of a market. Now, even if there was a market, the investors wouldn't invest in them because they're not salespeople. Boffins can't sell. And to be a successful entrepreneur, you need to be able to sell stuff, or you need to have a hustler on your team who can sell it for you. Remember the t-shirt, the League of Entrepreneurs t-shirt? We have the hustler, the designer, and the hacker, or the software developer. All of these things are necessary. So by focusing on a minimum revenue product, this is an easy way for you to prove to investors that you can sell stuff. If you can't sell a minimum revenue product, then obviously you're never ever going to raise investment because you can't provide value for an investor. So this, and a VC in Silicon Valley, what was his name? Michael something, I can't remember. Anyway, he told me that he's a VC, he invests lots of money, like millions upon millions of pounds. And he said, all an entrepreneur needs to have is 100 paying customers, and he'll invest in them, invest in that business, because the entrepreneur has proven that they can recruit 100 paying customers, which is the ultimate validation in startup land. People pay you money. Okay, so little question for you guys. We have a perceptual map here. So the horizontal axis, we have software developers on the left-hand side, and we have entrepreneurs on the right. The vertical axis, we have little validation at the bottom, maximum validation at the top. So let's start off with the MVP, so the minimum viable product. Where do people think that, which box do people think the MVP resides in on this chart? Does anybody, so we're just talking about the MVP, okay? Anybody have any idea?
Left bottom.
Okay. Okay. The bottom somewhere, left or right, Anna?
I think MVP is closer to software developers, whereas MRP to entrepreneurs, but I'm not very
Oh, okay, that's a good answer. What do other people think? Is Anna correct?
Can it be, I think it's a maximum validation in entrepreneurs.
Um, so we're talking about MVP here, the minimum viable product, not the minimum revenue product.
Right. Okay.
I would say the bottom right. You don't have to like even have developers on your team for you to validate your product.
That's true.
Little
Yeah.
validation in entrepreneurs. Yeah.
Well, I might have to change my slide in the future, but I put it here. So I mean, an MVP is something that a lot of software developers like to create. But you're right. You don't need a software developer to create a minimum viable product, Ola. So I think I'll move it later on. But anyway, the minimum revenue product is up here. So generally, it's the maximum validation. People pay you money. It's like, you're onto something now. And generally, it's something that entrepreneurs create. Entrepreneurs generally are hustlers, or they want to earn money and build a very valuable business. Now, of course, there are different types of entrepreneur. We have you can be a technician. Remember the wealth dynamics slide I think I talked about? Did I talk to you guys about that before, wealth dynamics? Maybe not. There might be another cohort. But anyway, there's different types. If you just Google wealth dynamics, you can find out what type of entrepreneur you are. There's a little test that you can do to find that out. But I'll talk about that a little bit more later on. Okay, so this is where I think the minimum revenue product sits. And now to achieve this, you need to think about your mindsets. Okay, so the first mindset that you need to develop to create a minimum revenue product is to remember who your early adopter or who your first customers are. Okay, now this, I've shown you this before. This is the diffusion of innovation, and there's a lot of information in here, and it's based on a number of books or a number of people who teach stuff. So Robert Cialdini, The Psychology of Influence, I definitely recommend his book. Obviously, we have Jeffrey Moore, Crossing the Chasm, Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point, and perhaps The Outliers is a book that would kind of reference this. I haven't actually read Everett Rogers or Forrester's, so I don't really know what they mean. But ultimately, the thing that you need to understand is that your first customers are in this sector here. Okay, so especially the innovators, they like technology. They stand up in a queue to get the Apple iPhone or the Apple iPod or Apple anything. Yeah, all these innovators, they want to be first with the new technology, the new headset, the new car, whatever. And so they queue up to get that. And then we have the early adopters. These people see, they're what we call visionaries. That's their psychographic or their mental makeup. They see the opportunity that you provide them with. And a number of your businesses have resonated strongly with me. And I think, wow, I'd love to use your service and to benefit in the future. Now, the thing to understand, okay, is that the innovators and early adopters are creators. This means that they like to help you build your product, right? They believe in you. They want to be first. They want to help you build it, which releases you from the curse of perfectionitis. And this is unfortunately a common plague. It's a bit like innovators bias virus. There's a perfectionitis virus. With the minimum revenue product, the mindset that you have is that you can create something that is not ideal. It's not optimum. It's not perfect. It's just a splash page to see if people respond and pay you money or not. Now, but as long as you're talking to your customers, as long as you're in dialogue with them, they'll give you feedback. And Ash Maurya actually practiced this when he was, if you read his book or you've read his early blog posts, you can understand how he built LeanStack in partnership with people who believed in his idea. The entrepreneurs who saw the value, they wanted to be first with LeanStack, and they supported Ash in actually making a real business. So the mindset that you need to develop to create a minimum revenue product is to embrace your customers, your early customers, okay, and to understand that they want to help you build your minimum revenue product, If it's perfect, they can't help you. Okay, so if it has a few imperfections or it's clunky, it doesn't work ideally, they will still use the product. They'll still pay for it because they believe in you and want to help you. All right. So that's the first mindset. And the second mindset is very similar to what I've just been talking about. You don't necessarily want to build a Frankenstein, but rather just create something that people can pay you money for. Now, when I say what a Frankenstein is, it's overbuilding, overthinking, you know, cobbling stuff together, trying to, you know, not being an expert, trying to, you know, overbuild something that is going to be ugly, it's not going to work or live for very long. Rather, give people an opportunity to pay you some money. Yeah, so one of our, there's a number of examples I'll touch on, but ultimately it's just creating a pay button, pay here, and make it easy, of course, for people to pay you money. You don't want to have multiple doors that people have to knock on to get through in order to pay you money. You need to have it upfront and very simple for people to pay you money. So all you need is a landing page, Stripe account, and a plugin button such as that WordPress uses. Can't remember off the top of my head, but it's very simple to do it. It take me about half an hour to create a new pay me money button. Okay, so that's the mindset you need to have. Mindset number two. Mindset number three is all to do with focus. Can anyone tell me which movie this is from?
Lord of the Rings.
Ah, pretty close.
No, Star Wars.
Okay. Does anyone know the Star Wars movie?
Yeah, it's Star Wars, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely Star Wars, but which one?
First.
At the very beginning.
Sorry.
But it was
The first one, I think. Like,
is it the Phantom Menace?
yeah, that one.
And who's Qui-Gon Jinn talking to?
I forgot his name.
Anakin.
Yeah, Anakin Skywalker.
Skywalker, yes.
And this is quite an ironic movie because unfortunately, when Anakin Skywalker grows up, he forgets this very important a piece of advice, and ultimately turns into Darth Vader, the baddie in the movie. So I've spoiled Star Wars if you've never watched it. Ooh, sorry about that. Sorry, Vince. Hopefully you'll forget what I said on that regard, and you can enjoy Star Wars to the full. But ultimately, the principles are true. Your focus determines your reality. And as entrepreneurs, we need to decide whether we're going to build write code or whether we're going to try to make money. Okay, if we're not trying to sell our product or our service, all we're doing really is indulging a hobby. Yeah, it's when you actually sell things, make money, have customers, that's when it's a business. And so you need to think about your focus. What are you focusing on? And we have a number of trackers that, and we've asked you to track your acquisitions and activations every day. This is a principle where you need to think about your focus. And now I think the good thing to understand, the thing that separates us from animals is that we have choice. So we can assess ourselves and we can think, okay, what am I focusing on? Am I focusing on just talking to people? Am I focusing on writing code? Am I focusing on that? Do I need to shift my focus and to actually take control of our mind and make it, or just really choose, where we invest our time and attention? So that's the third mindset. Okay, so we're going to bring this all together and to give you some examples of a minimum revenue product. And I have some stories to tell as well that David will be excited to hear about. Okay, so pop-up juice bar. This is a minimum revenue product, and some of my daughter's friends, they actually do this. They ride around on a bicycle that has the coffee machine attached to it, and they can go up to groups of people and say, hey, do you want a coffee? I was trying to do something similar to that. My first business was importing motorbikes from Los Angeles to Edinburgh. Living on Los Angeles, juicing was very popular. People like carrot juicing, vegetable juicing, not just apple and orange, but actually really healthy juices. And you might have heard of Innocent juice. You get buy a smoothie in the supermarket. Ultimately, Innocent did what I would plan to do before they came along. So I wasted 6 months of my life on the advice of this advisor who said I need to spend 6 months on a business plan, marketing plan, before I could actually start my business. Okay, that is not a minimum revenue product. All I should have done was gone to the Meadows, a park in Edinburgh, and with a juicing machine, which you could get, out of a supermarket, you just put stuff in and juice it. Obviously, I'll probably need some sort of power generator to do that, or I could have had some manual option before they invented the electric ones. I could have done that. I could have just ridden around on my bike, juicing oranges or carrots or whatever, and selling it to people to find out whether there's any interest in buying juice in Edinburgh. So anyway, that business was not successful, sadly, because I didn't have someone to give me the advice that I'm giving you guys today. Okay, so obviously this is a very simple example. It doesn't necessarily resonate strongly with fintech startups such as Ola's or an app, but I just really want to get you thinking about what is the minimum thing that you can create that will give value to your customer. So here's one, a pre-order discount. And so this guy, Robert, he was from Washington in America. He came to Scotland, he came to my meetup group. He was keen to hang out with other entrepreneurs, share war stories and encourage each other, and generally, some entrepreneurial bonhomie. And Robert had read the Lean Startup, and so he was thinking in terms of a minimum revenue product. So he built a website, and he had this pre-order discount. So he had his value proposition: we're going to solve this problem for you. If you think it resonates with you, pay us £50 and you'll get a 50% discount for life. And he actually made £800. He managed to find 16 people who would pay him 50 quid. And it was just a pay us some money to buy a discount in the future. Very simple, easy to do, and applies to a SaaS company or something, a digital company. And there's actually a friend who was around last night, who's an entrepreneur from Singapore, and he was talking about when Zoom first came out on the market, and he managed to persuade the founders of Zoom to give him a 2-for-1 Zoom account. So he was one of the first early adopters, saw the opportunity that Zoom had, was prepared to pay money early on, and he still has that pricing offer today. So you can use a pre-order discount. Yunfei, do you want to ask a question? No?
No.
Okay. So you just unmuted yourself. All right. So another example of a minimum revenue product is early access to a beta version. Very often, I don't know if you remember, I think it was not, was it Instagram or one of the other picture apps? Anyway, whoever it was, they had a very slow release. So they're only allowing a small number of people start to use their service at any point in time. Now, there was a number of reasons behind that. One is that they didn't want to overwhelm their servers and the technology. The other thing they did was that they made it desirable. When something is scarce and people want it, then it becomes more desirable. Okay, this is like a psychological trick. So if you have a button saying pay us some money, and you'll get early access to our beta version, some people, the innovators, okay, the people who have the creator mindset, who want to help you build it, they will pay you money for that. Oh, I'm going to get a beta access. Wow, let me pay money quickly before somebody else gets in and the beta version offer's gone. Yeah, so this is another way for you to kind of not worry about perfectionitis. You can actually sell early access to a beta version. Obviously, in your business, you have the alpha version that you know where you're working behind the scenes. It's not public. Then you have the beta version where it might have some what's that expression? Some bugs, some things that doesn't work correctly. But the innovators are happy with that. Yeah, they believe in the vision. They want to help you, and they'll pay you money to get on the be part of the story, be part of the founding story, be part of and be able to say to their mates, "Hey, I helped found. I was one of the early customers in the Mata, or I was one of the early customers in your business." So you're giving people an opportunity to be part of your journey. Okay. Finally, 1 hour consultancy. This doesn't necessarily apply to everybody. This is just an example of how easy it is to create a minimum revenue product. You just sell an hour of your time. Obviously, if you're a tutor in the English language to Chinese people, you can sell English tutoring quite easily. And I think David and the gang have done that. It's perhaps a bit trickier for some other people in this call. But anyway, you get the point. You can, it's very easy to sell an hour of your time. Obviously, some people's time is worth more than others. But there you go. So there's 4 examples of a minimum revenue product. Maybe we should just open up for a little discussion of how people think they can create a minimum revenue product in their business, and using these examples here. So anyone like to make a suggestion of what they could do?
We're developing additional scenarios for film and game studios. So, but it's kind of just a different kind of customers, but it probably will go in early access.
Okay. Now remember, everybody needs to. This is something that each of you needs to create. All right. So this is a real valuable opportunity for you to talk it through. So how much will people pay for that, Anna, do you think?
We're still negotiating because we created 7 different scenarios, an example of the small production company. And each of them will have a different price, but we're still figuring it out because of the technical bit and the augmented reality. So yeah, and it will depend upon, because each of the production company for each movie or each TV series, because we will develop a specific thing. It will depend upon how much IP are they able to give us, because it's and how long is the story. So it will be adaptable to the kind of each of them. So that will be, that's the reason why maybe we are still struggling. But yeah, it takes time.
If you have technical requirements, that's going to make it harder to create a minimum revenue product. Maybe you guys want to think about early access to the beta version of the Mata for players, and they just get, start paying you £10 or £20 or whatever to get early access. That might be an easier thing for you to do. Anyway, we haven't got enough time to talk about it in detail. Let's just ask other people. What do you think, Sasha, your minimum revenue product could be?
I'm starting with a 1 hour consultancy because I've been doing that. So I'm kind of going to put that one on first.
Lucky you. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Perfect. Okay, let's move on to some of the others then. Vince.
I just have a question. What's the pop-up juice bar is again? I mean, I forgot.
That's very often this phrase is like a pop-up startup or a pop-up shop. At Christmas, very often an empty shop will start selling fireworks.
Okay.
Or Christmas trees. Yeah, they just pop up and then pop up, pop down. All right. So, Brian, Vince, I think I was asking you, what do you think you are?
So I think it could be like a reset to beta version. Yeah.
Sure, and of course that will apply to both sides of your marketplace. So it can apply to your customers and apply to your restaurants. So you need to do two MRPs. Okay, so Ola, yours is a bit trickier.
Yes, it is. To be honest, I'm not sure what it could be, considering the fact that it's illegal to even like to make money without being regulated. But having said that, probably other things we could do. So one thing I'm thinking about is even the community we're building. If there's a way we can monetize the community, maybe something that is big enough. If we could like get 5-10K people or like on a platform, even like on a social media page as well, then find ways to just monetize that. I don't know if that's just the thing that's coming to mind.
Okay. Well, obviously we're going to have a chat about that off this call if you want, because your situation is a bit more complex. So yeah. But anyway, it sounds like a good idea to explore. Okay, so David, Yunfei, and Minerva, what do you think your guys' minimum revenue product could be?
I can answer this one. Minimum is, although not very innovative, but still one-to-one tutoring. This is the quickest way to get the money and revenue. That's it.
Yeah. So the minimum revenue product doesn't need to be innovative. It just needs to solve a problem that someone has.
True.
Yeah. So just an hour of tutoring, boom, there you go. Or even 10-hour block. You guys have a bit more, you know, you're making money already, so you guys have probably achieved this. Yeah, cool. All right, so let's move on. We need to move on now to the next thing, the next part of my presentation, and this is the £100 revenue. Okay, now this is a more than £100 revenue. Which is pretty straightforward. So if Sasha sells, if she charges 50 quid an hour, then all she needs to do is just sell 2 hours of her time. Boom, that's you got more than £100. Well, obviously that would be exactly 100. Ideally, you want to sell 3 hours of your time so you can make 150. But of course, this is leading you on to a phase 3 deliverable, which is £1,000 revenue. So once you've created your minimum revenue product, okay, it's going to be easier for you to achieve £1,000 revenue in phase 3. Okay. And again, you're going to remember the clock is ticking for you to prove your business is sustainable and able to make money. And we are 12 months, into the program now. Yeah, more than that. So the time will run out more quickly than you think, probably. All right, so that's pretty straightforward. We will create a goal tracker for you to use in phase 3, and every day I hope you'll be developing the habits that help you to be successful. And remember, we do not. I don't know if you guys have seen my desktop, but I have this. I see this every day, okay? People do not decide their futures, they decide their habits, and their habits decide their futures. So if you embrace this habit and track your and mark it orange every time you look at it, this is developing a habit that will serve you in the future and increase your chance of business success. Obviously, it's up to you to take my advice. Anyway, so here's the recording it every day, and then ultimately this is the chart. Now the red line is the actual, the blue line is the goal. And I've said in the past that when we're striving to achieve a goal, that's when we learn. And if we're striving to achieve a goal and we're not quite hitting the goal or meeting the goal, then we think that gives us an opportunity to think about why are we not achieving our goal. Okay, let's try and work out what the obstacles are. Perhaps we're overcomplicating our minimum revenue product. We need to rethink it and do something a bit more simple. Maybe our value proposition doesn't resonate with the right client group. You can make a change. This is like a build, measure, learn cycle. So we're building the goal to achieve revenue of £1,000. We're measuring our results, and then we're learning. Okay, let's make these changes so that we can achieve our goal. So this is an opportunity for you to learn. All right. And again, it's all about target fixation. So wherever you focus your mind is where you end up. Now, unfortunately, this guy and then many other motorcyclists, just Google target fixation motorcycle, you'll see lots of motorcycles crashing into people, cars, trees, you name it. And there's children doing it as well. Children on push bikes crashing into trees when there's nothing else around. It's because of our focus. Yeah, wherever you focus your mind is where you end up. And if this guy had stopped looking at that cyclist spot and instead started looking at the yellow line, he would have avoided crashing into the cyclists. And if you're ever in traffic and an accident is about to happen, it's really important that you don't look at the lorry. Okay, you look at the gap where the lorry isn't, and that's where you'll go in your car or on your push bike or in your motorcycle or whatever. And so, yeah, to achieve £1,000 revenue needs target fixation. All right, so let's move on to memorandum of understanding. This is something you get from customers, strategic partners, suppliers, or investors. Okay, so a memorandum of understanding. So a memorandum of understanding is a non-binding agreement between two or more parties outlining the terms and details of an understanding, including each party's requirements and responsibilities. An MOU is often the first stage in the formation of a formal contract. So it's a bit like a prenuptial. It's a bit like the non-disclosure agreement, which actually is binding, but it's just like I don't know if you've ever been in a coaching call. If you've had a coach, very often the coach will reflect back to you what they think they've said. It's an advanced communication technique. Let me just reflect back to you to make sure I've understood what you've said. And so a memorandum of understanding is very much like that. Okay, it's like this is the beginning of coming together to do something formal in the future. Okay, now there is a psychological principle behind this that could serve you well, and it's called the as-if principle. And this guy here, Richard Weissman, he is the chief psychologist at Edinburgh University, or whatever you call the department head in psychology at Edinburgh University. He's also the chairman of the Black Magic Circle, and he's the BBC psychologist, the British Broadcasting Corporation. And this book, it talks about if you behave as if, then you're more likely to achieve it. So if a cat behaves like a lion, they might think, well, obviously a cat's not going to turn into a lion, but just trying to explain the principle. If you and often people call this fake it until you make it. Okay, if you can, and I wouldn't necessarily say try and fake it because you're faking yourself, and that could slow you down. It might be difficult to believe, but generally, if you behave as if you can sell stuff, then you're more likely to sell stuff. Yeah, and so this book, there's lots of useful information in there for you to learn from. But when it comes to memorandums of understanding, the more of those you have with potential suppliers, potential investors, potential customers, the more likely they are to pay you money, or the more likely they are to partner with you, or the more likely they are to invest in your business. And you can get people to behaving as if they're a customer of yours with an MOU. All right, nearly done, nearly finished. So here we are. This is an example of a memorandum of understanding, and this example is between St. Louis Public School and Bank of America. Obviously, this was some sort of collaborate in a partnership for the benefits of the student in the finance career, and then it was detailing that. So generally, an MOU is just like a very, very short letter, 1 page, 2 pages, something like that. Then we have the letter of intent. Very often, if you want to get investment, having letters of intent will reassure the investor that there is a demand, that people actually like what you're going to be offering. It might help OLA to get FCA approval, if get letters of intent from key partners. But they're very similar. A letter of intent and a memorandum of understanding. And the third type of MOU is what's called a term sheet. So this is something that you will get from an investor. This is, you know, when you're in the later stages of conversation with an investor, you've given them a pitch, they've read your executive summary, they've read, you know, you've met them for a couple of times for coffee, you've asked them for advice, and they're seriously thinking about investing in you, in your business. They will ask you to sign a term sheet. Now, what this does is, it's not binding. There's generally only one thing that is binding in a term sheet, and that is what's called it's a no-shop agreement. That means that you don't try to get investment from other people. Yeah, so you sign a letter, a term sheet with one investor. That means you're not going to, you know, if you've got another 8 investors lined up, you're just going to forget about them. You're just going to concentrate on this one investor. So it's a bit like a prenuptial before getting married. MOU. So the deliverables again, it's an offer. So I need to see, for you to have completed this, an offer or an invitation for someone to pay you some money. So this could be a 1 hour of your time, pay here button on your website. It could be a pre-order or a discount, or, you know, a number of different things that we talked about before. It could be a screenshot of your bank account to prove that you've earned £100. Of course, the goal tracker is the revenue tracker as well. MOU, so you just really share with us a copy of the signed memorandum of understanding. But of course, all of this is getting you to the stage where you achieve sustainability in your business. Okay, this is the reason why you need to complete all of the tasks that are outstanding. This is the reason why you need to start generating money in your business as quickly as possible, because if you do not achieve sustainability, then you will not be able to get the innovator visa, and we don't want that. Okay, hopefully I've made that very clear.